Thank you and good afternoon. So, on a morning like this, I'm very excited to be here among the captains of the industry. I know that some of you have already have a deeper understanding of ONDC. I'm happy to know that some of you might be already become partner or might be in the process of integrating. So I'm not going to go in detail with respect to how you become a part of ONDC, and I'm sure that you can reach across to us and get all the information that is needed from my team. So what I plan to do briefly is to sort of make some very tall statements, throw it at you to stimulate your thinking, and also share with you some of the impact it could have on the industry, and also give you a very brief on the progress that we are making. So we are at the cusp of a big transformation in commerce. The very, very bold statement that I would like to make, which is that e-commerce as it existed today, as we all know, is going to become irrelevant, and it is going to be a completely different world. Why am I claiming it so? All of you have, both physical and digital presence. And for most of you, it's a physical presence which is more than the digital presence. In the physical world, you have the complete control. You decide the advertising, you decide the discount, you decide the terms of trade, you discount payment condition, everything is decided. But in the digital world, only few have this luxury. Most of them will have to become a part of 2 or 3 large established walled gardens, where they decide what is the terms of the trade, what is the payment condition, what is the discounting, what is the advertising budget, everything. And you have very limited choice. On the other hand, probably some of you may be big enough and bold enough to have an independent initiative that is only left to the very select few who have the wherewithal to handle the humongous costs associated with establishing a full-fledged e-commerce business, which is only few and very few in numbers. This is not just in India, it's all over the world. And globally also, this is becoming like a big challenge to industry at large. The extreme amount of market concentration resulting out of few large players, whether it's in India, US, Europe, China, anywhere, and the market practices which significantly affect, and the typical, almost for many of the brands, they feel helpless even because they don't even know what is the kind of the data and information about their clients, usages, patterns, daily offtake, and so on and so forth, because there's very limited information is made available to them, or if it's available at a price. So that's why Americans are trying to address it by regulation, Europeans are trying to address it by regulation, India, we are trying to address it by technology and markets. So what is briefly what it is trying to say? The walled garden means if you're a seller in a platform, you can only visible to the buyer in that platform. And if you want to meet the buyers in 2 platforms, you have to have everything needed for both the platforms in terms of technology, processes, and everything, and their terms and conditions, everything. And that is, in that way, it gets limited. Since it's a walled garden, each of them take pride in the scale they have. They said, somebody will say, I have 100 million, somebody will say, I have 50 million users. And with that, they are able to demand significant amount of attention or extract significant amount of influence on the sellers, and only few large guy can really survive. The rest of them fall on the wayside in this digital world. So what ONDC is trying to do is to make this world change. Says, can we make any seller who is making his catalog visible using this ONDC protocol, which is open, to be visible to the whole network? So it doesn't matter. It's almost like when you create a web page. Let's say if I create a web page, Koshy.com, I don't say, should I go and register myself in Chrome? Should I register in Firefox? I know that any browser will be able to, discover me. So long as the traffic will be determined on what I have to offer. What's the product that I'm offering? What's the content that I'm offering? If I'm not good enough, I'm not relevant. It doesn't guarantee me market share. It guarantees me equal opportunity. And that's what we want to try to do at the commerce side too. Eventually, I expect my vision is every product or service owner will be able to make their product visible in an open network. So what's the point in being visible? Who's going to discover them? Whereas the existing platform will say, I have 100 million users, 50 million users. What is ONDC offering? Is it a super platform that is offering anything else different? How are they going to build up there? They will have zero customers today. The answer is yes. But the openness and interoperability make the whole thing different. Today there are many entities. Let's look at just two examples, like your telcos, Airtel and Vodafone. Big banks like SBI and Kotak and IDFC, or all of them. Talk about fintech, PhonePe and Paytm. Together they cover the whole country. We have smartphone users are more than 900 million, though most of them don't do commerce, but they visit something, read something. They spend time and all. But the entities have digital consumers using this 900 million connections. And now what they're saying is today it is very difficult, practically impossible for them to offer e-commerce. Right? For example, imagine Kotak Bank who want to make e-commerce available to buy products or services or transport or taxi hailing, anything. They will have to go and list so many sellers. It is not their business. They are not capable of doing. Now, as I said earlier, we have all the products available on an open network in an open protocol. So the other person has to do is only to help their consumers make a search as a buyer's agent and not as a seller's agent. Then they will tell, okay, let's say Kotak Bank will say, for all my banking clients, I'm going to help them to buy everything. Since they give me since they interact with me and I have a good understanding of them, I'm able to even help them to make the right choices. I'm not going to push any particular product. I'll help them to make the right choices. I'll help them to be diverse, express their culture. Okay, when there is a cultural nuance that is happening, let's say that I am a Kotak Bank customer and they know that I'm a Malayali, and they say that Onam, Koshy, don't always you wear Lacoste brand, but during Onam you wear a Malayali jubba, it's available here and I'll take you to the best shop in Delhi. He has an incentive to do. Otherwise he has no incentive. Otherwise he's no Lacoste more because it's a more famous brand. So this is what I'm saying is they become the truly buyer's agent. And collectively they are making 1 billion customers on a pool to be visible to the smart sellers with the right product. And that is a world we are changing. And that is going to humongously affect the supply chain. And when you have so much digital transaction happening, we are able to unbundle product and credit. Now I'm just giving you throwing up on some of the ideas. With all this thing, it's going to be a journey. It's not going to happen. And its beauty is that it's the first time that's happening anywhere in the world. India truly is standing in front and saying that while the whole world is trying to drive a problem through regulations and control, we have a digital solution which is market friendly. And that will become a real success only when all of you become a part of the network. It's nobody's private property. It is a collective journey. So if I, try to be, take some few words from our Honorable Prime Minister, it is vocal for local. And something that is setting an example. And I'm happy to announce that, we are still very much in the pilot stage and beta testing is going on. We are gradually building up our, presence little by little as people get more and more confident. But the good thing is some of the biggies and the smallest have already become part of the thing. If I just give you some name without any priority preferences, if you look at Hindustan Unilever or ITZ, Nivea, they have already become part of the making it available. They are expanding it. And they all have an agenda. It is not going to kill the supply chain. It is to empower the supply chain. It is not going to make the neighborhood stores irrelevant, make neighborhood stores more relevant. And another thing is that we are also seeing few hundred startups who are also able to give specialized seller applications or buyer application. If I look at, so we have something like 700 entities who are under various stages of integration with us. 26 of them are live. Even in the buyer application, we have 2 large big names like PhonePe and Paytm, 3 startups who are also making their presence felt. In the seller side, as I said, we have HUL and ITCs of the world and Microsoft and Googles of the world. On the other side, we have many startups who are making very specialized solutions for very specialized sellers to make their catalog visible, attached with a lot of other solutions that is happening. So this is where we are going. So I will only ask you one question. What is your ONDC strategy? And as I talked to a lot of fund managers and investors and all, they said this has become the standard review question. And so what I'll just stop at this point of time, considering the time, is that you have to go back to your product team and the technology team and tell them to work together, not just integrating as a tech solution, but changing what is a strategic change that you need to do in your product management, strategic change that you need to do in your supply chain management, strategic change that you need to do in your business processes. Plan for it, reach across, and let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that keynote. I think there is a lot more that people will love to know. This is such a new and exciting thing, and I would call it a revolution in making. The way we have seen and I've seen some of the decks which start with this first slide. Social is what Aadhaar, and the digital payments is UPI, and then digital commerce is going to be ONDC. So, but there are a few questions in the mind of the people, and I don't know if we have enough time, but we'll try to crunch as much as we can. The first one which comes to everyone's mind is this, what is this? Is it a mother app, or is it just another app on retail or e-commerce? Is it going to have everybody on the same platform, or is it going to compete with the large aggregators?
Because this is a lot of people had this question because our mental models are based on platforms and apps. It is not an app, it's not a platform, it's not a mother app, it's not a mother platform. Entities does make nothing. We only empower. So as I told earlier, there will be buyer applications. It could be a banker, it could be a telco, it could be fintech, or any of them, like Paytm, PhonePe, Kotak, and they will all help the buyers to buy. Similarly, there will be many seller applications. It could be an aggregator, or somebody like a medium-sized brand or a large brand may say that I'm going to make my catalog visible. So it is a network all stitched together to give a uniform, seamless experience to the buyer and seller.
So you mentioned equal opportunity during the keynote, and you're also saying that it will enable everyone to get onto the platform and give more visibility. So presence, yes. But what about the other nuances which people will want to have? Something like discovery, search, ratings, reviews. Is that also going to be enabled?
First question is, many of the common facilities like rating on a network-wide rating will be made available by ONDC. Similarly, if you look at the buyer applications, like I said, buyer applications are going to become truly agents of the buyers. And they will be able to help the buyer only if we help them search, help them shortlist, help them filter, help them to ask more penetrating question to help them their choices become very focused. So all those will be the innovation coming from the buyer applications. And what I expect is different buyer application may come from very specialized customer. Like I said, for all Malayalis based out of Kerala, outside of Kerala, somebody may create. But you will see that who's going to give them the humongous high-end AI support for them. What could happen is, because they're all working on standard protocol, some big guys will come and say, I will give you specialized AI plugins as a service. So you're talking about a completely different way of doing. What we are creating is a specification for the Lego block. Smart people will stitch together to make either bullock cart or a spacecraft.
What is the real motivation behind ONDC? Is it par for the consumers? Is it par for the small businesses, retailers? Is it democratization of retail? Or is it a tech disruptor? Or is it government's way of playing a role in business? What is it?
If I ask you, it will all end up being everything. The key thing that is there, as I told you earlier, there's a big challenge that the whole world is facing, is that the extent of concentration, or what the Europeans call it, the gatekeeping resulting out of walled gardens, and the impact it is having on the small and medium enterprises, and the way it is affecting the choice of the consumer on one side and killing a large part of the industry on the other side. And so, since it is a common idea, so the India government at its procedure is encourage building digital rails as foundations to build business on the top of it, not to sort of usurp everything end to end. If you look at that's how internet started. HTTP, if Mr. Tim Lee had made HTTP as a private network, he would have been a personal trillionaire, and most of the internet business wouldn't have been there. The foundation made sure that there could be multiple billionaires, and that is what it will happen. It will enough a lot of innovation coming from the diverse diaspora, not whether India and internationally, trying to make a change, not focused, concentrated walled gardens who are trying to maximize their interest, which is fine, but they're maximizing only their interest and others have no opportunity.
We've usually seen that somebody who drives and builds the platform or the network always has the key to control that network as well and the platform. And in case of large aggregators, we are always told there's an algorithm which is controlled centrally. In this case, it's a government backed. Should there be a cause of worry for the businesses because it is going to be controlled somewhere, the way visibility will emerge, way businesses will interact with each other? Is it going to be controlled, or is it going to be left open to individual people who will build up businesses on top of that network?
That's the beauty of the network. Nobody has any central control. The buyer application will have information with respect to the people who came to buy from their buyer apps. The seller application will know all the information of the people who bought from them. Nothing is hidden from them. But it's only what is bought from them. And nobody has the aggregate picture squeezing either control or premium. But what as ONDC would do is that we realize the meaning of data for everybody. So we will work with all the network participants to aggregate performance indicators which are non-PII, non-proprietary, and that also become a common asset for the larger business and the policymakers without anything. Because for the whole network work, there is no central page where the data comes. So nobody has that control as you thought.
The initial partners, other than you mentioned some of the FMCG players also, but the initial investors, if I would say, are mostly banks. And you also mentioned the people who are building a protocol on top of it, like Paytm and Kotak. They're all related to financial segment. Is this by design or by default that most of the early adapters or people who want to build pipeline over this platform are coming up as coming from the financial institutional background where they have a set of customers, or it is just an initial trend and you will see more of these other people coming up?
So what happened is initially when such an entity was being considered, government said it's not going to be a government company. It has to be an industry initiative. It has to be like a collective. Almost if I just use the word like a mul. Okay, it has to be a collective. And collective has to have a start, and that's why it's set up as a Section 8 private company. Then it said that who is going to be the one who's going to contribute, who can build on top of it. So financial institutions being large institutions, they were asked, and 19, 20 of them came and said, yes, we are there. And it's not limiting any fashion. In fact, for a Section 8 company, I'm one of the luckiest person that another 10, 15 of them are standing in line. I said, I don't want at this point of time. But our idea is in future, we will attract more participation. Nobody has controlling interest. Each of them today has equal interest, and we expect that more and more people will come and become a part of it. Like I said, it is going to be a collective. And that will also ensure that it will work on for the benefit of the larger user segment and not to maximize its own business, because he has no dividend to pay and no listing in the inflation. At the same time, make all the users more powerful.
Okay. The role that large brands have in assisting this build-up or assisting the migration or the early learning of the retailers and small businesses onto the network. What I'm trying to say is that the role that, say, a Lacoste has or Unilever has or the brands have, what do you expect from them? What should they do to help faster adoption as far as their own partners on ground in the offline space, as of now, as we call it, is concerned?
The first thing they should do is that they should also express their confidence and become part of the system. And I always, whenever I say Rajesh, I tell him, when are you coming out, which is a standard refrain for me. And secondly, while they're developing, that's why I say it's not a technical integration story, it's a product story. And in that product story, any sensible brand manager knows that life is not just digital. Life has to be empowering the supply chain in the most smartest way and trying to help them to take advantage of the digital as their partners, not as some use and throw material. And that is a kind of dialogue I'm hearing from all the big brands. And they are all, while they say that we'll start in a certain way to show, but we are going to build on to make sure that the larger ecosystem players benefit.
Okay, a last question from my side. What would you say your learnings have been in leading this? I would say it's a very complex, initiative. I'm trying to describe it in 4, 5, or 6 words. It's government supported, non-profit, tech-based, commercial, business model-based, disruptor at scale. So this is not what usually happens as far as some startup leaders are concerned. This is something totally different and much, much bigger and more complex, probably more moving parts to it. So your learnings from it, and what would you want people, the youngsters here, to learn from it in case they come across such opportunity?
2, 3 things. One is it's very demanding. Second thing, there's nothing to copy paste, so we have to be continuously innovating. Third one, like if you look at all the management gurus will tell, is that any company will succeed when it has a purpose. And the beauty is that we start with a very clear purpose, and that gives a drive to every member of my team, every consultant working with me, and it is encouraging a lot of people to come and volunteer themselves and become a part of it, because they believe they are working with a purpose of strengthening their company, their ecosystem, and finally putting India in the top of the map. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.